Have I got a masterclass for you today? I got my good buddy Eric Brewer, and this is one that I have anxiously looking forward to for a while now because, as you're about to hear, novations and novation agreements, which is essentially a legal wholesale type transaction that allows you to essentially wholesale properties to retail buyers. And you're going to learn much more about that in addition to crazy, awesome, in-depth conversation we have about a variety of things and just so much more from somebody who, just to give you some perspective, Eric and I have been in the business since 2005. Last year, Eric's company did north of 400 transactions, and 150 of those were novation deals that were responsible for over $4 million in profit. Let me repeat that. Over 400 transactions, of which almost half of them were responsible because of novations, which led to over $4 million in profit. So when I tell you you're going to want to listen to this masterclass from start to finish, I'm going to take it a step further and say you're going to want to listen to it 2 and 3 times. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to my good friend, Eric Brewer. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Outside of novations, there's so much more you can take away from this, but I just want you to be an active listener regardless of what you're doing. And I so appreciate you for tuning in to the Flip Empire Show.
You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
Eric, when you talk about a little bit of equity, I'd like to leave people with the ability to recognize that, hey, we have all these leads in our CRM. Which are the ones that could be novation candidates? This is going to vary market to market, obviously, but how much equity, more or less, are you looking for?
You're going to pay, depending on your market and your relationship with an agent, you should be able to pay. Our cost to sell is 4%. We pay a 3% buyer's premium, and the relationship that I have with my list or my dispo department is a licensed entity, right? It's just the way that we've decided to do our business because of the volume of novations we'll do. We'll do over 150 of those this year. I mean, it counts for almost 50% of my business.
And how much will that, do you estimate, don't lose your train of thought, but I'm curious, just so people have some perspective here, those 150 transactions, what would you guesstimate is the actual
$4.5 million.
How much?
$4.5 million in gross profit. We average
$4.5 million just from novations.
Just shy of 30 grand per transaction. We average, we hover between 19 and $21,000, like depending on a good month, slow month on wholesale. We're almost double that. We're about $35,000 on novations. So to answer your question, the perfect house is a property that would, without a whole lot of headaches, pass a home inspection and an appraisal. The properties we have the most success with are clean but slightly outdated properties, right? So that the perception of the need to sell at a discount is there for a seller, but it's not distressed, right? It doesn't have a blue tarp on the roof, doesn't have a failed furnace, it's not all banged out because a tenant beat the crap out of it before they moved out. It's in generally pretty good condition and would pass a home inspection or appraisal without a whole lot of headache or need for renovation. We're doing things like installing hand railings, GFCIs, simple stuff like that on those transactions because the FHA buyer and their appraisal requires it to be in a certain condition. So that's the perfect property. As long as you have about 10% equity, if you think about a $250,000 house, if you pay out 4% in transaction cost, right, as commissions, and you have a 6% margin on a $250,000 house, it's 15 grand, right? So you can make $15,000 on a property that someone's literally willing to sell at 90%. And here's the most important number that people don't pay attention to in normal transactions that become the focal point of novations is as is retail value. Right? We talk about MAO, ARV, renovation, blah, blah, blah. And we're always trying to predict what a renovated house would sell for when the reality is 95% of transactions that are traded in the MLS are non-investor deals. They're not fix and flips, and they're not banged out properties that are being bought by an investor. So it's so easy to comp what this property will sell for, what its as is retail value is, because the reality is the majority of comps that you're looking at are in decent condition, not an investor style deal. So it's very easy for us to predict what it would sell for. And we have a super high close rate on our novations because we're so accurately able to predict what it'll sell for. So that's the perfect house, a house that's a little bit outdated, but in pretty good condition. It's not going to get, tore up on a home inspection.
Hope you enjoyed that episode. But before you go, I've had a lot of people recently reach out to me wanting to learn more about Ascend, wanting to understand how the mastermind component works, how the coaching relationship works. And so right now we're actually on a waiting list. But what I would encourage you to do is if you think you're the right fit and you think you could benefit from being a part of our community, head over to ascendyoursuccess.com, watch the short video, and then just click the apply to join button below. And then we'll be in contact with you if and when a spot opens up. So really appreciate you listening to Flip Empire here. And I look forward to connecting with you on the next show. Take care.